What if the best defense is actually a good retreat? We're about to dive into a pretty radical story of coastal protection, where victory didn't come from building bigger, stronger walls, but from strategically letting the sea win. It's an idea called managed retreat, and honestly, it's completely reshaping our relationship with the ocean.
It sounds totally backwards, doesn't it? I mean, for generations, our gut instinct has been to build walls and keep the ocean out. But what if that whole approach is, well, flawed? That question is right at the heart of what we're talking about today. And believe me, the answer is a real game changer.
Okay, so our story starts in a place called the Blackwater estuary in the UK. For hundreds of years, this place was a literal battleground. You had farmers building seawalls, inch by inch, pushing back the tide to reclaim precious land from the marshes. It was just this constant, grueling fight to hold the line.
But by the end of the 20th century, the tide was turning, literally. The old seawalls just couldn't hold up anymore. You had this perfect storm of rising sea levels, the land itself was sinking, and the storms were getting way more intense. A catastrophic flood wasn't a question of if, it was when. Everything was at risk. Homes, farms, roads, you name it. So, faced with disaster, they came up with this wild new plan. Instead of building the walls higher, they were going to knock them down. They decided to do the exact opposite of what everyone had done for centuries. Now, this wasn't just giving up. It was a really smart strategic retreat. The goal was to work with nature's power, not try to fight it. And this really shows you the two different mindsets. On one side, you have hard engineering. Think concrete walls. It's a brittle defense. It costs a ton of money to maintain, and when it fails big time. But on the other side, managed retreat creates a living, flexible defense. It's a system that actually absorbs energy, builds itself up, and adapts to change. So how do you actually do it? Well, it's this beautifully simple four-step process. First, you intentionally break open the old walls in a few key places. Second, you just let the tide flow back in, right over the land that was once farmland. Third, the tide does all the heavy lifting, carrying in silt and mud with every single cycle. And finally, over time, all that sediment builds up and creates a brand new, totally natural salt marsh. And this is the result. It's amazing. These new salt marshes are basically nature's perfect shock absorbers. Instead of a hard wall that waves just smash against, the marsh acts like a giant sponge. It just soaks up all the force from storms and high tides, creating this massive living buffer that protects everything inland. The big picture goal here is to get to a state that scientists call dynamic equilibrium. Just think of it like a living coastline. Instead of being this fixed, rigid line on a map, it's a balanced system that can shift and adapt on its own. Sediment moves around, marshes grow, and the coast basically takes care of itself, adjusting to rising seas without us having to constantly step in. But here's the really cool part. The benefits didn't just stop with flood protection. The project ended up creating this incredible virtuous cycle. It turned out to be what people call a triple win, a solution that delivered huge value for the community, for the local economy, and for the environment, all at the same time. Let's break that down. First, the social win. People's homes and all the important infrastructure were finally safe from flooding, giving them peace of mind. Second, the economic win. Yes, some farmland was given back to the sea, but the value of long-term security and stability was a far bigger economic gain. And finally, the environmental win. A huge new habitat was born, and biodiversity just exploded with wading birds, fish, and all sorts of other life coming back. It was just a total holistic success. And that's exactly why this project in the Blackwater estuary is so important. It's not just some feel-good local story. It is a proven, real-world blueprint that can be used by coastal communities all over the planet who are facing these exact same threats from a changing climate. This powerful strategy actually has a name. It's called ecosystem-based adaptation, and it's a pretty simple idea with profound results, right? Instead of fighting nature with concrete and steel, we're harnessing the power of a natural ecosystem, the salt marsh in this case, to do the hard work for us, building a much more resilient future. And that really brings us to the final, crucial question. The Blackwater estuary proves that nature can provide the best, most adaptable defenses we could ask for. But getting there requires a trade-off. It requires giving some land back to the sea. So the question we're all left with is this: to truly win this fight, what are we willing to give back?